Welcome back to TLDR's daily briefing for Monday the 9th of June 2025. In today's episode, we cover Israel's seizure of a Gaza aid strip, Syria's return to the global financial system, and the shooting of a Colombian presidential candidate. But first, Trump deploys the National Guard in Los Angeles. The US government has deployed hundreds of National Guard troops to Los Angeles after a third day of clashes between protesters and law enforcement officers over immigration raids taking place across the city. On Friday, protests began in Los Angeles after it emerged that Immigration Customs Enforcement, or ICE officers, were carrying out raids in LA's Westlake District and Paramount, where the population is more than 82% Hispanic. The ICE told CBS that 44 unauthorized immigrants were arrested in a single operation on Friday, with another 77 people taken in the greater LA area on the same day. In response, people began protesting, with reports of looting, attacks on police officers, and vehicles being set on fire. Trump then invoked a rarely used law, a specific provision of the US Code of Armed Services, to send in the National Guard. For context, the law lists 3 sets of circumstances under which the president can federalize the National Guard, including if there is a rebellion or danger of a rebellion against the government. Trump claimed that the LA protests constitute a form of rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, announcing that 2,000 National Guard troops would be mobilized for 60 days. But the unrest continued, with at least 10 people in LA reportedly arrested on Sunday night, with around 60 arrested in San Francisco. Several officers were injured, while rubber bullets, smoke, and tear gas were used against protesters. The events have also highlighted a long-running spat between Trump and California Governor Gavin Newsom. While a state's National Guard force is typically activated at the request of the state governor, Trump bypassed Newsom by federalizing the National Guard, a move Newsom called illegal and unconstitutional. He also claimed that Trump had manufactured a crisis and indicated that California would sue the Trump administration on Monday. To add to the drama, Trump and his border czar, Tom Homan, even insinuated that Newsom could be arrested, with Trump telling reporters, "If officials stand in the way of law and order, yeah, they will face charges." Newsom then responded, "Come after me, arrest me, tough guy." At this point, it's unclear where things will go from here, although the latest reports suggest that the protests may have quietened down. That said, Trump's memo left open the possibility for other US Armed Forces members to be deployed to LA, with Trump himself having advocated for the Marine Corps to be deployed, although no official order has yet been made. The saga has also been interpreted as Trump cracking down on a Democratic city in a Democratic state to send a political message. You're listening to TLDR's Daily Briefing. If you want more explainers on what's happening in the world, then you should check out TLDR's other channels. Today, we released a video on why the Turkish lira is still falling. You can find it linked in the description or show notes for this episode, or by searching for TLDR on YouTube or Nebula. The Israeli military has seized an aid boat heading for Gaza and detained activists, including Greta Thunberg, who were on board the vessel. The Madeleine, as the boat is called, set sail from Sicily a week ago with the goal of delivering a symbolic amount of aid and protesting Israel's war in Gaza and its restrictions on desperately needed humanitarian aid entering the territory, where the population of roughly 2 million people are at risk of famine. The organizer of the Madeleine's voyage, the Freedom Flotilla Coalition, said the 12 activists on board had been, quote, kidnapped by Israeli forces, adding that the ship was unlawfully boarded, its unarmed civilian crew abducted, and its life-saving cargo confiscated, in international waters some 200 kilometers from Gaza. Among others on board were Rima Hassan, a French member of the European Parliament. The Israeli Foreign Ministry said on Monday morning that the boat, which it characterized as a, quote, selfie yacht, was being towed to Ashdod port in Israel, and that its passengers were safe and are expected to return to their home countries. Israel has imposed a naval blockade on the Gaza Strip since Hamas took control of the territory in 2007. On Sunday, the Israeli defense minister had ordered the military to prevent the Madeleine from reaching Gaza, calling Greta Thunberg and her fellow onboard activists, quote, Hamas propaganda spokespeople. After nearly a decade and a half of sanctions and exclusion from the global financial system, Syria will soon be fully reconnected to the SWIFT international payment system, according to the country's new central bank governor. In an interview, Abdulkader Husriya set out a pathway to rebuild Syria's devastated economy and restructure the financial system. He told the Financial Times that he hopes to bring back foreign investment, remove barriers to trade, normalize the currency, and reform the banking sector. Reconnecting to SWIFT is a significant step for Syria, as it's the main global communication network that enables international payments. and it follows the unexpected announcement by Donald Trump last month that the US would lift sanctions on Syria. A Colombian senator and presidential candidate is in intensive care after being shot in the head at a campaign event in the capital, Bogotá. Miguel Uribe Turbay, a 39-year-old conservative senator, was leaving a campaign event hosted by his opposition Democratic Center Party when, quote, armed subjects shot him in the back. A 15-year-old suspect was arrested at the scene, and authorities are offering a $730,000 reward for more information. Colombia's leftist president Gustavo Petro, who had faced much criticism from Uribe, said it categorically condemned the attack, labeling it an act of violence not only against his person, but also against democracy. Even though there is a dark history of political violence in Colombia, the shooting of Uribe, who announced in October his intention to run in the 2026 presidential election, has sent shockwaves through the country. The mayor of Bogotá said, "We cannot return to situations of political violence, nor to times when violence was used to eliminate those who thought differently." That's all for today. We'll be back with you tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen. In the meantime, if you want to keep up on all the TLDR content we've released across our channels, then subscribe to our new weekly newsletter, published every Friday. You can do so by clicking the link in the description. This was a TLDR News production hosted by Georgina Findlay, written by Georgina Findlay and Rory Taylor, and produced by Scarlett Watchorn. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back again tomorrow.